Yu-Gi-Oh is in a really interesting spot right now. I think that there's some really good things that we can take apart from Yu-Gi-Oh, and then there's some things that genuinely need to be fixed, like kind of disturbing. You really won't believe these type of Yu-Gi-Oh problems. They're crazy and need to be addressed if Konami wants to grow the game of Yu-Gi-Oh. My guy, and it's simple. It's extremely simple. Like, oh my God. I don't want to be that guy that just constantly complains, so let's actually talk about some good things that Konami has did first. First of all, they released a ban list. There you go. They did that. They did that. They did that thing. The thing that they did with the things, they did it. They could have been like my dad and just never came back, right? Master Duel is actually really good right now. I'm not gonna cap, guys. We thought that tiers needed to be hit, but nah, they just let it develop. It turns out that that third try is a charm. You got it wrong with the TCG and OCG. Master Duel, you got it right. Yu-Gi-Oh right now is actually incredibly balanced. I like that. Like I talked about in Monday's video, you can literally pick just almost any deck that was competitive from the last 2 years or so. And as long as you know how to play the game, you can do decently well. There's been so many decks that have topped over last weekend. It's kind of crazy. And yo, actually what I've really been liking, Konami has been supporting Yu-Gi-Oh decks that are old. Like, hey, man, come on now. Look, Chaos? Hey. Solomon Great? Hey. I absolutely love the fact that new upcoming sets will not only introduce new strategies, but actually make older strategies viable. That's really cool. But now that brings me to the interesting part of Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Man, there's some crazy things. It's almost like Konami giveth, but also Konami taketh away. I think that one of the more interesting things was the flop of Cyberstorm Access, because let's call it what it is. Competitively, Cyberstorm Access is a flop. And the reason why I say this is because two of the most powerful strategies from Cyberstorm Access and Super Heavy Samurai and Pearly were completely murdered by the Forbidden List. I mean, the proof was in the pudding. I'm still on Copium. I still had hope for those particular decks, but statistically, they didn't exist. Imagine those particular players. They were super hyped to play their new Yu-Gi-Oh deck that just came into the meta, only to have it destroyed before we could actually get into the meta. I guess you could say that Pearly players did not indeed have that dog in them. On top of that, the other introduced strategies have been middling. Gold Bride got some really good support, and it's actually doing the best out of all of the other strategies, but we're in Cyberstorm Access format. That's the biggest representation. That's not good enough. Manadium actually got upgraded as being one of the best combo decks, and it's been like my ex-girlfriend, missing when I needed her the most. So yeah, outside of giving branded support and a couple of stellar cards that work into previous decks, Cyberstorm Access could be considered a flop. Hey guys, remember Teller Knights? The Teller Knight guy remembers Teller Knights. I forgot Teller Knights were even a deck. I know you guys forgot about bro. I literally went to like page 3 to find the first Teller Knight card. I was like, wait. Oh yeah, that did get support, didn't it? Beat Troopers got support too. I do think that there's a good trade-off though. Wild Survivors has been completely insane. The Vanquish Soul strategy is crazy cooking. Like seriously, if you take out Manadium and you put it in Wild Survivors and you take out Vanquish Soul and you put it in Cyberstorm Access, we have two completely different outlooks on this entire format, right? I think that the biggest problem with this is that it makes Yu-Gi-Oh players hesitant to buy Konami product, because now at this point in time, we don't even know what is going to be good and what is going to be bad. Normally when we buy a main Yu-Gi-Oh set, especially when the entire format is centered around the set's name, we're in Cyberstorm Access format according to Konami. You would think that the Cyberstorm Access cards would carry the format. Also, the deck build sets have been notoriously known for being as mid as Eminem's Mom's Spaghetti and then getting better over time. It's really confusing to have it the opposite. But that's when things start to fall off the map just a little bit more and we reach our first problem. I think what puts most players in an interesting spot is that both Wild Survivors and Cyberstorm Access, the best cards in there, are very expensive. The Vanquish Soul strategy is almost all ultra rare, and the best cards from Wild Survivors are all secret and ultra rare as well. But here's where we start to come into the big problems. Battles of Legends Monstrous Revenge. A monstrous disappointment. reprints. So Battles of Legends set have been historically known to give players crucial reprints to very hard to find, but also generic and powerful Yu-Gi-Oh cards. This set ain't got none. Well, I mean, Dark Armed Dragon and Dante Traveler of the Burning Abyss, those are generic sets. We're still in 2013, right? Like, come on, you guys play those cards still, right? Normally, I wouldn't be too hard pressed about that because Konami does roll out reprints on a consistent basis, printing out some of those hard to get staple cards that everyone needs so everyone can have a fair chance at being able to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Do you want to do me a favor and pause this video and look up some cards prices? Triple Tactics Talent, Triple Tactics Stress, the Bestial Lubellion, Kirakara the Divine Carnate, and Pot of Prosperity. Look those up, my friends. Those cards are expensive and necessary. I'm pretty sure we can sit here and name a ton of other expensive must-play Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and Battles of Legends is typically a set where some of those cards would be reprinted. That did not happen this year. The next opportunity for some of these cards to be reprinted is in the next Mega 10s, but some of them I have a gut feeling we're not going to get in those 10s, like Divine Carnate. It was left out of the 10s announcement. Powder Elements isn't getting a reprint. Potentially, I guess. Normally these cards are reprinted inside of the Battles of Legends set if they don't fall inside of the Mega 10s, but the cards that I just mentioned, some of them don't fall in the Mega 10s range, and Battles of Legends didn't reprint them. So essentially I'm saying it's potentially, I don't know, a whole nother year of Pot of Prosperity being a secret rare $50 Yu-Gi-Oh card, and you need 3 just to play Yu-Gi-Oh. It's starting to become more like Yu-Gi-Oh is cheap to build these particular decks, but to have the cards that actually prepare you for success to win, those are extremely expensive and hard to get. And when Konami does decide to reprint these cards like Baron de Fleur and Pot of Prosperity, they give you the exact same rarity with the exact same chances of pulling the card, meaning that it's still just as hard to get the card. If you guys are old boomers like yours truly, Konami took over from Upper Deck Entertainment and said they literally would not do what they're doing right now to us. They said Yu-Gi-Oh would be accessible for everybody. And I know what you guys may be saying.
Kelly, it's an extra chance to pull it.
Well, yeah, every time I buy a lottery ticket, it's an extra chance to win the lottery too. So same thing, right? The cool thing about this is that I wouldn't say that it's a huge problem just yet. Konami does have multiple opportunities to be able to fix this. Maybe they do introduce Pot of Prosperity reprints inside of another Mega 10s, or maybe a structure deck to make it accessible for everybody. But for right now, it does create a weird situation where no matter how cheap your deck is originally, you have to get some of these uber expensive staples to be able to compete at the highest levels. I mean, I do have hope because remember when Forbidden Droplet was an insanely expensive Yu-Gi-Oh card and now it's like 10 bucks? I think that's reasonable. Pot of Prosperity should be the same. And I genuinely do not want to hear about gold rares. Oh my God. Who the f wants to play gold rares? Are you a serial killer? You either do it because it's the cheaper alternative or you're a serial killer. Fortunately enough, if your boy has a problem, he always comes with solutions. And here's the solution. First of all, Konami already understands what cards are going to be highly sought after. They rarity bump cards all the time in the TCG to reflect that. I personally think having a scheduled timetable where players know that the card would be reprinted is good for everybody. It allows players that are investing into this card to know how long it's going to be at its price. It also gives players on a budget a time frame to know when these cards are going to be cheaper. Or there's option B. I actually like option B. When Konami prints out a particular high rarity Yu-Gi-Oh card, they can print it out in the max rarity and the min rarity. Imagine, my guys, imagine getting Pot of Prosperity as a secret and a common at the same time. Everybody wins! Everybody wins! I mean, it's not like they don't have a whole region that they do it in. The OCG doesn't exist. Come on, it's like Nibiru. And for the people that think that Konami does not make money off of the secondary market, buddy, you got another problem. The reason why card games like Pokemon are so successful is because players actually invest into buying the product because they know not only is it a pleasurable experience to be able to get the low-end and high-end cards, they know they're getting their money's worth. It's almost like product integrity meant something, but I don't know, maybe I'm just a boomer. And another reason why this helps is because newer players getting into the game can actually play the game at an affordable rate. The more newer players, the more customers, the more boxes sold, the more players that Come on, like, what are we doing here? This is simple. With all of this that I've been talking about, I should have a degree in marketing by now. Overall, I have to say that player sentiment about the game and it being fun is pretty up there. But when it comes to accessibility, that's a totally different ball game. I think we could work towards fixing that, and that would be really, really good for everyone in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game.